What's up guys, and welcome back to another video covering Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. As you all know, if you watched the very last video I made, I'm obviously behind on covering this. Sorry, I'm just using Internet Explorer rather than Chrome. Yeah, big issue. But of course, we're just going to go through the next trailer that came out, which I don't know when this one came out exactly, but this is the one that revealed the Ultra Recon Squad and sort of revealed that to us because obviously we covered the poster with the squad sort of at the top there. We didn't know who they were, and this trailer actually told us a bit about them. So, jumping in, the first thing in the trailer is travelling through ultra space, which seems like it's actually pretty cool. So you see a little clip of what looks to be the player character, running down a wormhole on top of Solgaleo. Obviously we know Solgaleo and Lunala can travel between ultra dimensions, or whatever you want to call them, through the ultra wormholes. So it looks like it's just a bit more of a sort of mini game to it this time. So I'm assuming it's the player, as I said, but they are dressed like an Ultra Recon Squad member. So while I do think it is the player, because you then see a few shots of the camera behind them, and obviously you're controlling Solgaleo or Lunala in this instance, so it must be the player. I'm guessing you can buy outfits that make you look like the Ultra Recon Squad members, which is pretty cool, to be honest, because that's one of the big things that lacked in terms of customization in both X, Y and Sun and Moon. Because we want to be able to dress like other characters. We want to be able to, dress up as Red, for example, or as one of the gym leaders, or something like that. We want to sort of style ourselves a bit more than just like a red t-shirt, brown shorts, or whatever you want. So it's cool that it seems like we'll be able to do that. And of course, as I mentioned, you see a few more shots of travelling through the Ultra Wormhole, sort of basically controlling Solgaleo, Lunala. It looks like you got to collect rings as you fly or go down the Ultra Wormhole, similar to the old Star Fox stages. I'm thinking of from Star Fox Adventures, when you had to travel between the main planet and the islands around it. You had to do these little stages where you have to collect rings to be able to get to the stage. So it looks like similar here. You have to collect rings to open the Ultra Wormholes, and it seems like you have options of going into different ones, because you can see here in the central screenshot there's a green wormhole that opens up, but they actually avoid that, and then there's another one, sort of a bit lighter green, I suppose, further down, and you can even see in the distance there's another yellow one as well. So this is accessing all the different dimensions. Now we know obviously there's the normal dimension, makes sense. There's another dimension we'll look at soon. There are also dimensions for the Ultra Beasts, as we already knew from looking at Kartana's Ultra Dimension that we covered a while back actually, and I'll talk about it now, I suppose. They've revealed in an interview that you can actually catch legendary Pokemon through wormholes such as this. Now we don't know how that will happen, whether there's a singular dimension you go to and bam, there's a random legendary, or whether there are more wormholes that, for example, take you to where you would catch the legendary Pokemon, normally like the top of Bell Tower, for example, or Hoenn to catch the Reggies. Something like that. We'll have to see how it's executed, but obviously that's another wormhole there, and it adds a little bit of a mini game to the travelling. So I assume there's some sets or some set order to open the wormholes, and obviously then you just choose which one you go into. But we'll have to see how the execution carries out towards when the games come out. But we're going to look actually a bit more into the Ultra Beast dimensions themselves. Of course, this initial one here is Nihilego's dimension. We'd already seen it before. You can see the Ultra Wormhole you come out of on the left here, and then a small path leading up to the Grove, I'll call it. And it looks like from the last screenshot you can just sit down and you have a battle with Nihilego. Now, I imagine this is just a one-time thing where you can catch yourself a Nihilego similar to any other legendary Pokemon, but it could be the fact that you could, whenever you return, maybe once a day, something like that, you can get another Nihilego and just free catch it, because of course you are in Nihilego's dimension, so it makes sense that there are more than one, as we saw last time. So maybe that'll happen, maybe not, but it just seems like it'll be a little sort of mini-game, probably post-game, that you can travel here and catch them. Maybe after you do the main plot you can do it anyway before the Elite Four, who knows. But just like a little similar to Auras's thing with the rings, where you can just catch legendary Pokemon and stuff like that. So moving on then, we have another dimension to look at, and you can see here initially, we can't tell, but it's fairly easy to tell from this point that this is Xurkitree's dimension. First up, the cable sort of bridge that the character walks over. First up, there's an electric bolt of lightning that hits one of the sections of the bridge, so that initially indicates electricity. And then of course you can actually see that the bridge itself is shaped like one of Xurkitree's arms. You can see sort of the black cable-like nature, and then this small sort of white tie around it that goes off. And then obviously in the first screenshot as well, you can see Xurkitree they look to be swimming. I'm guessing they're swimming in some form of water. So I guess you can then walk up to the top of this platform and battle a Xurkitree there. Simple like that. And there might even be a Xurkitree down there. If you look at the top screen, at the very sort of top of the image, there seems to be a Xurkitree just stood there. So maybe there are multiple Xurkitrees, multiple Ultra Beasts in every dimension, or maybe it's just the one and you have to go through some paths to get to it. Who knows? But that's Xurkitree's dimension there. Obviously we've seen Kartanas as well, and the final one we get to see here is Buzzwole's Ultra Dimension. Now initially it seems to be some form of jungly dimension. There are sort of, you know, vine-like bridges and trees you can walk over, and then there's a volcano as well here, and that explodes, and that apparently releases your Buzzwole, or Buzzwole is linked to the volcano somehow, because again, then when it powers up, you can see the volcano explode behind it. So again, whether or not we'll be able to catch multiple of these, I don't know. Most of these Ultra Dimensions seem to be fairly linear. You come in through a wormhole, you follow the path, you battle the Ultra Beast. It's not going to be a magical thing where there are well, there might be other trainers because we have seen it before, but from what we've seen so far, it doesn't look like. It looks like most of them are fairly simple, but maybe if you, for example, can't access Buzzwoles until after you've beaten the Elite Four, maybe they can make them more advanced with trainers and have it more of a post-game area, which could be pretty cool. That is the last area of Ultra Beasts though, and then we move on to the Ultra Megalopolis, which is another Ultra Dimension where the Ultra Recon Squad, as we'll look at in a minute, come from. Now this dimension, we're told, is in a dimension that Necrozma has stolen the light from, and this obviously leads further into plot information, which we'll look at both in this video and future videos, but it seems to be sort of showing Necrozma as an enemy or a bad guy in terms of these games. So Ultra Megalopolis is, there's no light, so they make their own artificial light, it would seem, in this central building that's then shone up and reflected over through several different mirrors to create the actual light of the area, but you can see it is fairly dusk itself. Again, this area looks pretty simple, pretty small. There is an entry area, a pathway up to the main building, and then obviously maybe something in the main building, who knows? And you can see two of the members in front of you on the first screenshot seem to be the Ultra Recon Squad members, so maybe at some point they take you to this area. Obviously we'll talk more about them in a second, as how they're built into the plot itself, but that seems to be like how it would work. In terms of whether there be anything extra Ultra Megalopolis, in terms of like battle area, I don't think so personally. It looks like it'd be a simple area that you visit for plot's sake and not again. But I could be wrong about that. There could be some stuff inside that allows you to battle people or something like that, because of course this dimension is very interesting itself. So looking at the actual Ultra Recon Squad themselves, they are a squad and they are different between the two games. So in Pokemon Ultra Sun you have Dulce and Zossi, and in Pokemon Ultra Moon you have Fico and Soliera. Now looking at these two screenshots initially, you can see Dulce and Zossi appear in Aether Foundation, and the screenshot, the screen looks very similar to the start of Pokemon Sun and Moon, where Lily is being chased and has to eventually escape with Cosmog. So what this could mean is that instead of the plot being based around Aether Foundation, Lily having to escape from them with Cosmog, instead of that happening, it's actually the Ultra Recon Squad maybe break into Aether Foundation, they chase Lily, and in that sort of instance there, Cosmog teleports them away. There may be some other stuff linked in with the fact that Cosmog was going to be experimented on anyway. All the Ultra Recon Squad could even be working with the Aether Foundation to bring back light to their dimension, which is basically what they want. Now the second screenshot and second area they're shown in doesn't really sort of breathe much light on it. It seems to be some sort of cavey wooded area, so possibly lush forest. I can't remember off the top of my head any other caves, but it's probably some reasonably early game area that they appear in, probably first meeting or something along those lines. We then show that we do battle Ultra Recon Squad Dulce and Ultra Recon Squad Soliera, so my guess would be those two are the people you battle. You could battle Zossi and Zossi, or I don't know how you pronounce that, Zossi and Fico as well. We're just showing these two particularly, and they each have one Pokemon. And it would seem that Pokemon is the same across both versions, and that is, well, actually we'll have to look at that in a minute, teasing, I'm sure you guys know already anyway, but you have two other screenshots here of the Ultra Recon Squad. One of them is Dulce and Zossi, and they're shown inside the cave. Now I'm pretty sure this cave is the one between, I can't remember the names of the towns. The first town you reach on Carla Island, with the, sort of the long town, Diglett's Cave, I think it is. I think it's possible that's inside this area, because obviously Dulce says calm yourself. There's only one thing we are here to confirm, and that's possibly looking for Cosmog. Now, why Cosmog is out of the bag here and Lily is nowhere to be seen, we don't know. Maybe you were told to look after Cosmog, maybe it's following you around, maybe you own it and it was in your inventory or in your bag or something like that, or maybe they've stolen it themselves. But we can assume they're looking for Cosmog, because it would seem like getting a Solgaleo or Lunala would be a good start to getting light back in your dimension. So that might be building into plot sort of sides there. But the other screenshot we have is of Fico and Soliera, and you can see Fico's name here is in question marks, which means you have no idea who they are, which means it's the first meeting, or at least you don't know the name yet. And you can see just to the left and the right of the bottom of that image, you can see two sort of stands for torches. And as well as his mention of the island Kahuna, leads to believe that this takes place in Iki Town, the very first town, possibly after your trial, possibly maybe during like the festival. And it seems like, again, they are tracking Cosmog, because that's what Cosmog is, because he says it's the effects of that one they call the Island Kahuna, so maybe they mean Cosmog is drawn to it, or they were drawn to it, something along those lines. It definitely seems like they're chasing down Cosmog, at least in the early game, to try and catch it or try and use it, something like that, which leads me to believe they might be villains, at least to begin with, i.e. trying to catch Cosmog, trying to take Cosmog away from you and Lily, until they explain to you their terrible conundrum, which is the fact they have low light in their dimension, and all they want is Cosmog to evolve into Solgaleo and Lunala, depending on the version, to bring light back to them, which might in which case might sort of draw you to be allies, because of course Necrozma seems to be the main villain of these games, at least from what we've seen, I suppose. In regards to the next thing, as I mentioned, they both have a Pokemon, both these members of the Ultra Recon Squad, and that is UB Adhesive, which is a poison type Ultra Beast. It's new, as I said, I'm sure you've heard of it before, because I'm late covering the news, but that's so good. So another Ultra Beast to go along with UB Assembly and UB Burst, two new ones we had as well, so that's three new ones. Whether we get any more in the eventual games, I don't think so at this point. I think three new ones is enough. I think they'd be happy with that, although if we do see some more, I would take a guess and say version exclusives again, just because in the original set of Ultra Beasts we have Buzzwole and Pheromosa, which were version exclusives, and similar with that Kartana and Celesteela were again version exclusives, whereas like Adhesive is your Nihilego, which is across both versions, possibly, who knows. But it seems like this UB will be pretty cool. It might even be the fact that this UB is from their original dimension, because it would make sense if this is the Pokemon the Ultra Recon Squad use. They could have been living in a dimension where these guys lived, and just sort of overtaken it, but that's just an idea. Maybe there'll be another dimension for the UB Adhesives, or whatever their end final name could be. Another thing to note here is the fact that in this battle you can see the player character has a Rowlet, not Rowlet, I've completely forgotten its name, Rowlet, Decidui, no, it's gone, blank, completely blank, oh well. You can see you're also in the farm area, which would lead me to believe you're at the Paniolo Ranch, earlier on in the game, so it's on Carla Island, again because you have a Rowlet, that's about the right time in the game, so it seems like they appear and battle you throughout the game, which is pretty cool, and it also means we'll see the Ultra Beast at a fairly low level, probably about 20 or so, so I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because of course they are legendaries, and they do have beast boosts, so they could be tricky battles, but there's only one Pokemon, so it shouldn't be too hard. Then, final stuff to cover for this video is just the extra UBs, UB Burst and UB Assembly, given their types and such. So UB Burst is a Fire Ghost type, which of course you wouldn't really think looking at it, but again, they're not really usually, apart from UB Assembly, which is Rock Steel and, pretty guessable. The only other thing is the new move that UB Burst has, which is called Mind Blown. Blows up its head basically and loses half of its health points. So it could be like pretty good, who knows? It's probably like a slightly weaker explosion basically, and we'll have to see how that fires out and sort of finds out in the end. It could be pretty useful for catching UB Burst too, just let it slowly kill itself with its Mind Blown. But apart from that, yeah, Fire Ghost for UB Burst, Rock Steel for UB Assembly, Beast Boost again. Remember, of course, we'll still have Ultra Dimensions for these two as well, you'd imagine, so UB Assembly probably some form of city landscape or some rocky landscape, and similarly for UB Burst, probably some clown, maybe a circus, who knows. We'll have to see, because these games seem like they're going to be very interesting, and of course there's still plenty more for me to cover, because I'm just catching up on that news. But that's going to be it for covering this trailer. In the comments, feel free to let me know what you think about the Ultra Recon Squad. Do you think they're going to be main villains, or do you think they're going to be allies from the start? Do you think they're after Cosmo? Do you think they want Solgaleo or Lunala? Do you think they want to maybe catch Necrozma itself? Let me know down below in the comment section what you think. But of course, that'll be it for me for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.